press record so that this will be available afterwards, and you can always take a look back over it. But a quick question, guys, just to get us warmed up. What shows are you attending this year? Is it an important part of your strategy? And where indeed are you deciding to spend your time, your valuable time, and where do you want to get the ROI when it comes to generating leads in this marketplace? Today's session is very casual, and feel free to ask questions at any time. I very much welcome your questions. If you write them in the Q&A box, that way there'll be record of them. So if we don't get to answer all of them, that I can get back to you via email, or Catherine or the team can. And if you want to share the question with everybody, you can put that in the chat box as well. Okay, but I have a quick poll here, just to get a sense of, where your marketing dollars, where your investment is for spend in this market, and what is working for you when it comes to lead generation strategies. There's a lot of different kinds of properties, types of businesses on the call today, and it's just very interesting to see what's going on out there and what's working for other people. So great to see that attending trade shows is a strong contender. Sales Blitz and Google Ads, interestingly, is coming up there, along with remarketing. So I'll share this in another minute or two. I'll just give you another few seconds there to have your vote counted, because people always find it very interesting to see what is working. And now is coming into marketing time and sales and budgeting time and plans for next year and all of that kind of thing, and this can really help people. Okay, so we have 62%, 70% of the vote counted. So I'm just going to close that out, and we'll share the results with you so you can get a glance at that. And yay, attending trade shows is number one. So we have the right people in the audience. Sales blitzes, number two. Facebook ads, I've seen that really creep up in the last year or so also. Google ads and remarketing. Okay, great, good stuff. What I want to take a look at, guys, is that at the end of the day, it's not about how you want to sell. It's about how the planner wants to buy. And that's really key in this marketplace and in general in a sales approach. If you're still selling the same way that you were 2 or even 3 years ago, results are going to vary and are going to change quite rapidly for you in the next year or so, because the planner has changed the way that they buy. So we want to take a look at examining some of those strategies in our session today also. Dov Gordon, he's a fantastic marketeer. And I love this expression: the most powerful skill that you can develop is to make people interested in you. And I think that is particularly true at these trade shows when people are meeting so many people. You really want to make that connection with the client in order to walk away with business opportunities. So today we have a little prize for whoever is the most interactive with meaningful questions and comments and feedback and sharing in general on the website. Okay, I'll take a look at that afterwards. A meaningful question wouldn't be, what is the weather like in Ireland right now? Okay, let's keep it to the topic, and but have a little fun as well. So what Catherine and I are curious about is, what is the biggest challenge that you have with the conference, meeting and event market right now? So if you'd like to share that in the Q&A or in the chat box, that would be very interesting to us, to make sure that that we are developing the right kind of content and learning and conference sessions for you at these shows, and indeed throughout throughout the year, okay? A major problem, guys, that I see in the industry is this, and it's that the planner is not believing you. They are not believing the traditional sales messages that are out there. And the great thing about writing a book is that you can call anybody up and they're very happy to answer your questions. And this is an insight shared with me from Shauna Suckow, who heads up Spin, an organization for senior planners. And she said, Ciara, look, they're really just not believing the traditional sales and marketing messages that are out there. So I guess, you know, we need to look at who are they believing and what is an authentic sales message? What is important to the client? What's resonating? What's interesting to the client? And we need to make sure that we are developing believable material, believable sales pitches, and believable marketing material, and indeed bring that to these shows. What's very interesting, guys, is that a lot of decisions come down to biology, and the part of the brain that makes a decision doesn't understand price or facts. It understands how you make it feel. And these face-to-face opportunities where you get to spend, whether it's 20 minutes or evening time, you have exposure to your target market. It's a fantastic opportunity to make that connection and to resonate with the client. So you may ask, where is all this coming from? Well, I have been just like you. I've been an exhibitor at many's show. I've been the veteran. I am the veteran, shall I say, at this stage. I've been in the industry for about 20 years, and I have 10 years of experience, mainly in the American market, in San Francisco and New York. And then I moved back to Ireland 12 years ago, and I became the client. So what that gave me is industry insights on both sides of the industry, so to speak. And when I became the client, I realized that I had been trained to sell from the hotel's point of view. And writing the book gave me this clarity to see where the buyer is making their decisions and how, indeed. So we want to look at step number 1 today, how to stand out and sound different and make your mark and attract the kind of business that is yours to convert, okay? And I'd like to see if we have some, you know, realistic expectations when we're attending these shows. I know from my hotel sales days that the GM would straight away be in my office the day after a show. How many leads did you get? How many RFPs do you have? And you know what? Sometimes it doesn't work that way. You know, planners go to these shows to make the connection. And Eduardo Chaillo, he's the global director of Maritz Travel. And I interviewed him for my book also. And he said, Ciara, look, people don't want to have to rush and make a decision and try to build a relationship once they have an inquiry or a meeting need comes across their desk. They want to already have made that connection or started that relationship and know who to call, who is the right partner to work with on this event. And these shows are a fantastic opportunity for you to do that. So I'm just curious, guys, to see, you know, what are the monetary expectations perhaps that you have? Do you have expectations of the number of leads that you want to develop, or the number of meaningful connections? Because I think it's important to have an idea of this and write it down, okay? Because the more realistic we are with this, the better the opportunity is to make our goals, right? And I had sent out a workbook on this. So if you want to write this in your workbook as you're going along, let me know. And if you need a copy of that workbook, let me know as well. Just put it in the Q&A box. But I would suggest to you guys that a very realistic expectation and a great thing to walk away from Incentive Works would be having a second meeting and having that opportunity to connect on a deeper level with the planner, with a potential client. Because you're not going to make a sale in a 20-minute conversation. You're just really warming it up, and you want to make sure that those valuable, whether it's 10, 15, 20 minutes that you have, that you are walking away from that with an opportunity to talk to them again, that they're looking at you and said, you know what, I want to speak to you further because I do have some opportunities here and I'm interested to know more. And so how do we generate those second meetings? And a key part to anything that we do in this market is building trust, building the right levels of trust and confidence with the planner. Because when you think about it, when a planner engages with you, they're effectively giving you their reputation, and they're giving you the reputation of their brand. Now, you know that, personal reputations take years to build, and brands can cost hundreds of thousands, if not millions, to build. And a wrong venue choice, a wrong service provider choice can do serious damage to both. And this fear of a loss of reputation or brand, it's always there. They'll never verbalize it to you, but it's always there. And in particular, in this economy, in this marketplace, in these days of when so much happens on the phone, we have to build so much more trust and confidence with a planner, with a buyer, and earn the right to have more of their time. On an average day, 174 newspapers of data is kind of thrown at us. It's out there, and we have to filter through that. So can you imagine when you go to these shows, there's 1, 2, 3 days, whatever it may be, and there's constant messaging. There's constantly people wanting you to listen as the planner, to hear all about my venue, hear all about my destination, hear all about my service or my technology or whatever it is. And it's information overload. So what we want to do is work on the conversation that we have with the planner that's making it more interesting. Now, Blair is a sales manager at the Peabody Hotel, and we did a little bit of work on her question technique, and she used them in one of these, scenarios, trade show scenarios. And she said that she felt so much more confident first with her one-on-one appointments, but planners actually thanked her for not reciting property information and being interested in them, and them feeling that she was genuinely interested in them. And you want to always leave a buyer or a planner with that emotional connection, because trust builds community, and it is our role to be building the community, and the right kind of community for your business. It's about building better business relationships, because they're the kind of relationships that are going to help you to get better rates, and indeed, uh, you know, have a constant stream of leads that are the right fit for your particular business. Okay, so I'm wondering, what are you hearing from planners right now? What is the big concern apart from rate that's in their world? They're always going to tell you about rate, but what else is going on in their world? I'm curious to know if they're sharing that, or if you're asking those kind of questions. What we want to do at IncentiveWorks is not build a leaky sales funnel. We want to attract more of the right kind of leads that are yours to convert, because that's going to skyrocket your conversion rate. That's going to be a much better and more enjoyable sales process experience for you. And that's where you can seriously be productive with your time, when you're not wasting your time talking to people that are never going to convert. And these shows give you that opportunity in order to do that. And the team at IncentiveWorks works hard to make sure that they are bringing in the right kind of people for their community and for their exhibitors. And let's when we're talking about budget, let's turn that around and talk about return on investment versus cost and price. And let's talk about meeting design versus a conference room that fits fits 300, because the marketplace is changing. How meetings are designed is changing. And if you look at the conference sessions and the learning lounges and the topics, there's a lot more of this. And these, experience designs that are happening now instead of what was happening and being talked about, let's say 2-3 years ago. So what are the top tips? Okay, what are the top tips? Number one, I want to walk you through how to prepare for it. Then I'm going to talk about some tips to do during the event and indeed after the event. What are the most important things to be doing after the event? Now, this is a general one to get us started that can apply to any of the networking events that you may attend, whether it's an evening event, whether you go to MPI events, whether you're going to a chamber event. But why not ask for a list of attendees? Because ideally you want to know who's on that list that you want to meet, and maybe you can connect with them beforehand. Now, I know that privacy laws have changed recently in Canada, and this is preventing some planners from sharing that. But what we want to do then is make sure that you are interesting enough and that your show stand is interesting enough that you're just going to attract, like a magnet, the right kind of people, because they will have the opportunity to research you. So the descriptions and the photography that you are putting in your in your printed material and on the show information is really of vital importance here. What we want to do is prepare some really great questions, because the better quality questions that we ask, the better quality answers that we are going to get. And it's about building advocates, not prospects, okay? We want to build this community of advocates, the right kind of people that are yours to convert. And I call it my killer question checklist. What are your killer questions that are really going to make the planner walk away and say, wow, that was interesting. I liked that conversation. I want to speak more to that person. Okay, perhaps these are some good questions to ask. What are the challenges in your industry or in your role? Get a sense of what's going on in their world right now. And indeed, why is the event being organized in the first place? Okay, that really opens up the conversation and gives you a very different perspective and a much more interesting conversation topics with the planner. Okay, so I'm liking what you're sharing, guys, in the chat box there, that a big challenge is often competing with other suppliers for this planner's time. Absolutely, and you have to earn that time, and the work that you're doing now in advance and preparation is going to help you to do that. Okay, and we have some new venues attending the show, which is great. So yes, absolutely, you have you're going to have your own set of challenges. And what I would say to you that with reference to that is, don't just go to these shows once and then decide I'm not going to go back next year, because the planners, what you will see is, and what I saw a lot last year, is that they're making friendships, and they are they're walking up to people that they met last year or over the last few years, and it's all hugs, hey, how are you, that kind of thing. And they want to see the people who are coming back year after year, because that shows the commitment that you have to this type of market and to their specific needs, and that says that you're really understanding them. They want to see the venues that are in it for the long run, or the destinations as well. Okay, I would suggest that you prepare answers to the usual questions, such as, what do you do? So let's imagine a scenario where you are at some of the evening events. Okay, it's quite a social event also, incentive works, and somebody asks you, what do you do? So do you give the normal response, which perhaps your title and maybe the venue that you work for or the destination that you represent? Or can you give a response such as this? Well, I helped a planner last week increase their delegate satisfaction survey by 5%. Do you see that the planner is going to be a lot more interested in continuing that conversation. You're not being salesy, but immediately they're saying, oh, wow, that's interesting. How did you do that? You know? So let's think about preparing some of the responses to those standard questions. And also, you know, have checked out what other kind of events have they run, and look at on social media. Check them out on social media. See who's on social media right now, and following the hashtags. A very powerful tool to prepare for these shows is social proof, and that comes in the form of testimonials, because the planner, remember, is not believing you as much as perhaps social complete strangers on social media or other planners like them. So do you have your toolkit? An essential part of your toolkit is to prepare these kind of testimonials, and indeed know their industry lingo. You know, you will have and you will notice different conversation styles with somebody who plans for the financial market versus somebody who plans for the pharmaceutical market versus somebody who's planning incentive events or somebody who's planning IT events. So you know, make sure that you're familiar with that and that you can switch into that once you know who you are talking to. And name badges are actually a very, very powerful networking tool. And I like to prepare my own one and have a really big first name. The correct place to place your lanyard and your name badge is up here on the top right hand shoulder, because when you go to shake hands with somebody, the eyesight fall will naturally go there and they can see and read your name comfortably. Perhaps you met them the day before and they can't remember your name because they have met so many other people. You want to make sure that you're approachable. If they met you last year and they're there, you know, at an event and they're trying to think, oh, what's her name? What's her name? Sometimes that will prevent people from actually walking over and saying hello to you. So if your name is very legible, you're just a lot more approachable. And of course, it's making it easy on you also if other people do this, okay? So I see some questions coming in, guys, and what are the strategies that I may implement to filter and target the right trade show attendees? Okay, and somebody is giving feedback here. Many seem to be travel agents versus planners. Many of the California CVBs are not returning, you know, on a regular basis, and they're looking at how do they pre-qualify and qualify people. Well, what you want to do, guys, and what you really need to prepare is, you know, what is your sticky message? What is the descriptions that you are putting out there that's going to help you to, you know, to really to really be compelling, be interesting to to a particular planner. And if we have time towards the end, I'll give you some examples of that. But it's up to you to have those right tools, those right marketing, and do you sound the same as everybody else? Because commoditization has definitely happened in this industry, and I can tell you a list of at least 10, you know, marketing phrases that are out there that are making everybody sound the same, like memorable experience, like exceeding expectations, like successful event. Okay, the planner, when they hear that, they kind of, you know, blur over because everybody is saying the same thing. So that's very important to dig deep and really find the right kind of language that is going to help you to attract the planners. Okay, and that does take time, that does take a little bit of work. Okay, what we want to do right now also is to show the personality of your business. Okay, and what is it that's going to be attractive to them? You want to be able to link into who they are and not be afraid to show a bit of your personality, because people buy from people at the end of the day. And don't be afraid to show the personality of your business, because those are the right kind of clients when they're attracted to that. You don't want to be too generic and trying to appeal to everybody, because as we all know in marketing, that means that you're really not appealing to that many people. Okay? A great idea is to wear something perhaps that it represents your property, and that can help you to attract people. And this kimono here is absolutely stunning one on an oro, and she took my advice in attending one of these trade shows. She was actually the only person on the Japanese stand who wore this, and as she said, it really helped her because people wanted to come up and have conversations with her. So dress in something that distinguishes you. Consider color, because if you look at most people on the trade show stands, gray and black is fairly stable uniform color in our industry. So maybe, I like to wear maybe a flower or something that'll just make it pop out, or a statement piece of jewelry or whatever. Because again, a lot of people are shy, and that can help them to just start a conversation with a complete stranger if they admire something on you. And the guys can get very creative as well in their accessories also. We want to connect now with people, and follow the Twitter stream, follow what's happening online. And Eduardo Chaillo, actually from Merit's Travel, I connected with him online, and we were talking for about a year before we met in person at a show. But we already felt that we were friends and we knew each other because we had these conversations over and back online. I think this is a really big one, guys. And yes, it is a basic, but it's amazing the amount of people who don't stand outside their stand or whatever and stand behind a table, but the table forms a barrier. And imagine that, if you are a hotelier, that you're in your hotel lobby and you're welcoming them. You're welcoming them to your business, and it says a lot about the welcome that they will get if should they decide to work with you. And there's a lot of activity happening in the few days over the show. So share it, tweet it, see who's talking. And a great opportunity is to go to the learning lounges and to the conference sessions and tweet about what is happening there. Okay, share what you're hearing, what you're learning, because these are opportunities to just strike a conversation, and also, I think, key to figure out what's important to the planner. Why are they attending this particular show? Or this particular learning session? Because it's something that resonates with them, and it'll give you a great opportunity to follow up with them afterwards, because you know that they're interested in this particular topic. Okay, it's about being a partner rather than a supplier. Okay, and that's key. A lot of salespeople will say to me, Ciara, the conversation is all about rate. I can't get away from rate. Whereas planners would say to me that the reason why a decision would come down to rate is if they can't see the difference between one property or the other, between one destination or the other, between one agency or another. And what you want to do is make sure that you're doing a good enough job in distinguishing how they're going to get better results working with you over your competitors. Okay, but think of it in your own scenario. If you were trying to buy something and you really didn't see the difference between two of them, one was cheaper than the other, then of course you're going to go for the lower rate one. So that's why it's so important to spend the time in developing your sales tools, in developing your marketing, so that you are immediately distinguishing yourself and not sounding the same as everybody else. And this is something that I actually noticed last year a lot at Incentive Works, that a lot of salespeople and exhibitors were on their phones at these shows. Now, I know and I understand, guys, that, you know, because of this, we have to keep up with work when we are traveling. But maybe just step away from the stand and, you know, limit the amount of times that you check your email. Because I did a little test last year and I asked a lot of planners, what bothers you when you're walking around the show, or what makes you want to stop at one exhibitor over the next? And this point always came up. They said if somebody is disengaged, if they're on the phone and they're scrolling away and they have their head down, I'm going to walk right by, even if I really want to go into that and speak to that particular person or find out more about their business, because it says that you're not interested and you're disengaged. And I know that it's so tempting when the phone is just right there, but maybe just step off the stand for a minute. And of course, the number one rule of networking is not to sell, that no one goes to a networking event to buy something, right? And you think of it yourself, you don't go out to networking events to buy something. So we want to just make sure that we are, that we're being conscious of this, and maybe set up, you know, a follow-up appointment if somebody is really, really interested, of course, but resisting the urge to just tell them all about your business. Let's strike that interesting conversation with them first. And has it ever happened that you have got caught speaking to the same person at an event and you're trying to get away? So a great thing to do now is to come up with an exit strategy. Now, an exit strategy that I like, that's going to leave you looking really well, is to ask them, you know, who is a good introduction for you? Have you come here, you know, is there anybody in particular that you have come here to meet? And try to introduce them to somebody else. And after, you know, a minute or two of them talking, you can kind of excuse yourself from that conversation, okay? It's a quick and easy way to do it, and it's very effective. It's leaving you looking good also. But the number one objective to walk away from is to know and agree your next step. Because too many times we can leave it that, yeah, I'll give you a call or I'll send you that proposal, and then it's like it's disappeared, right? And you never hear back from them. So try to get calendar appointments and set up phone meetings, as I call it. And that's really key part to any sales strategy. And of course, after the event, it's so, so important to do what you said you were going to do in a meaningful way. And when I say in a meaningful way, I can't tell you the amount of emails that I receive just because I attend these shows, not, you know, in a buyer capacity, because I'm not a buyer. And I just feel like somebody handed their assistant my business card, and I got put on a mailing list, and I just get blasted with special offers and just kind of generic follow-up. And that really, you know, that isn't, I suppose, the most effective use of your time, because you really want to make sure that you're nurturing the kind of people that you want to be nurturing, and sending them something that's personalized to them. An awful lot of salespeople don't follow up, or they might give up on the first or the second follow-up, whereas most sales happen after the fifth attempt, okay? So real quickly, guys, just to recap there, what you want to do if you want to win a lot more leads at these shows is, number one, is to let's look at your killer questions, okay? I have a list of about 30 killer questions that I have developed, but these are questions that are going to help you to build a better relationship with the client. And of course, prepare your answers to some of these questions, because if you ask somebody a question, they're naturally going to ask you a question back. Know what other events that they have run, if you know in advance who you are meeting. And let's look at social proof, okay? You asked, how can you prepare? How can you, what can you do in advance to attract more of the right kind of people? And looking at your testimonials, this proof for them that you're the right kind of supplier, venue, destination, whatever that may be. They're believing that more than they're believing you, unfortunately. Know their industry lingo, okay? Pharmaceutical industry versus financial institute, for example, they speak in a different language. And show the personality of your business, okay? Show your personality, the personality of your business. And you always want to try and emulate the client in that way. Dress in something that distinguishes you. You know, you have, for the people who are attending from Canada, there's such wonderful history, there's such wonderful stories that you can tell with what you are wearing that just strikes up a conversation, and that could be the best person that you have ever met, that best connection that you have ever made. And it can be something as simple as something that you wear. At IMEX Frankfurt, I was talking to a girl who decided that she represented a property that was on a race course. So they went dressed for the races, and they were, looking amazing in their beautiful hats and their beautiful dresses. And she said they were like magnets, and people just kept on coming up to them. And 2 planners on the second day came back to them and said, "We saw you yesterday. We loved what you're wearing. We just had to talk to you." And they turned out to be really great connections for them. So it's the little things sometimes that make all the difference. We can't complicate this, and sometimes we look to complicate this industry with these big sophisticated strategies. We want to make connections with people. When we have this opportunity for a face-to-face connection with them, you want to try and make the most of it. Connect with people now on LinkedIn or Twitter. Try to see and research who is attending out there and see if you can connect with people. If you met people last year, connect with them now. Use that database and say, "Do you know what? We're going to be here this year. I'd love to meet with you." Maybe it is somebody that you didn't quite convert last year, or there's potential and you just need to meet them another 1 or 2 times. And of course, always, always agree the next step. Okay, so we looked at some ways to, number 1, stand out, sound different, and build some of the tools that you need. A lot of the times at these shows, you can skip straight into the proposal stage of the buying process. And what we want to make sure is that you're writing proposals that are going to win, because what's key to the Steps to Win formula is it's about getting a yes at each step of their buying process. And you have a massive opportunity to do that at Incentive Works. So strategy gives you direction, but tools are what are going to help to get you there quicker. At the end of the day, the client doesn't care about your business. They care about their problems. And it took me a long time to realize that and to stop talking about my business. But when I did change, everything in terms of business results changed also. And the new competitive advantage, guys, is to think like your customer. Okay, it's about thinking like your customer. And I see companies and they're investing hundreds of thousands in the latest technology, but we can strip it back and we can make it an awful lot more simple and just step into the world and the mind of the client. So guys, you've invested 40 minutes of your time, and what we want to do is make sure that this is a productive use of your time, okay? So what can we do with boiling water? I love to give this analogy. It boils at what? 100 degrees. One of my favorite things to do is to have a cup of tea. I'm very Irish. I just love to sit down and have my cup of tea. But what can you do with boiling water if you just up the temperature by 1 degree? What does boiling water turn to? It turns to steam. What can you do with steam? You can power an engine. You can power a steamboat. You can power a train. And I want you to take a look at what is the one thing that you can do that is going to make all the difference. Because growth and profitability in this market is about, yes, having the right strategy and technique, putting the right power sales tools in place. And what's important here, guys, is to have the right tools that are developed from the client's point of view. And I definitely didn't see that when I was in my hotel sales days. And I, you know, I always beat budget and brought in great business. But when I became the client, in my venue finding days, then I realized that they see your business from a whole other perspective. And we want to develop that eye. It's about building relationships that are of value to the client. And that's key here, guys. It's about building relationships that are of value to the client. Because a sale at the end of the day is about having a great conversation. It's the result of a great conversation, but you have to earn the right to get those great conversations. And all of that gives you the kind of positioning in the marketplace. Your sales tools, of course, will give you the positioning in the marketplace. Are you commoditizing yourself? Are you sounding like everybody else? Or are you standing out and sounding different? So for a minute, guys, if you can look back over your notes and see what is the one thing that you could do in the next few weeks before the show that is going to make a difference. What is the one thing? Is there anything that has resonated with you that you have written down? And there's really something very powerful in writing something down also. There's a connection between your hand and the brain, and it helps you to commit to something and to remember it and to recall it when you really need it. So take a look and share with me perhaps what is the one thing that you are going to do that will make a difference. Because buyers have changed the way that they buy, but has your team changed the way that it sells? And if your strategy in this market hasn't changed, if your approach hasn't changed, then you are going to start seeing different results because the client has changed the way that they buy, and we must adapt our approach to that. So I have a few people asking, a number of questions, and I'm just putting this out to you guys. If you are wondering what is the one thing, what can make all the difference? This is my gift to you, a gap analysis call. If you want to spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes, just jump on a call with me, write it in the Q&A box now, and I'll help you to figure out what is the one thing that you can really spend time on that's going to help you to walk away with a lot more leads and more valuable relationships from this show. Okay, so I've had a lot of interaction in the Q&A box, guys, and it's very hard. I still haven't managed to develop that skill of being able to read and speak at the same time. So I'm going to go back over those and just see, who is the most interactive, and then I'll send you out an email on that, and of course a copy of my book. So if you have any further questions, guys, for the Incentive Works team, Catherine and Jane and Sim and all those guys are on hand, and it is iwshow@newcom.ca. Okay, iwshow@newcom.ca. And they're on hand and constantly manning that and ready to answer any of your questions. Okay, so if you have any further questions now, feel free to answer or to ask them. I have seen that there's quite a few that came in, and I know that I answered them towards the end when we started talking about the tools and how to help you to stand out and that kind of thing. But I really thank all of you for your interaction, for your sharing on this, and I wish you a really wonderful and a really successful show. I'd love to be there this year, perhaps next year, but have a great show, guys, and have a think about what is the one thing that you can do different that is going to help you to get different results in this market. I wish you well. Thanks a million.